Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Boca in English podcast. I'm Rodrigo Azurmendi, and I have a very, very special guest, my friend Nico Cantor from the Golazo Show on CBS Sports and Fútbol de Primera Radio. Nico, I kind of want to ask you how you're doing, but I feel like I know the answer already.
Rodrigo, how are you? Yeah, you know the answer. I'm doing all right. Have had better days in my football fandom, but uh, nothing can make me happier than talking through it with another Boca fan. So excited for this podcast.
Yeah, no, absolutely, man. We just want to tell the audience our last podcast was about the Benfica game. Facu and I talked about that one, so we covered that one, but we haven't done any since the Bayern game, a game that both of us were in attendance, Facu as well. Facu, by the way, he couldn't make it today. He had a flight delay. He was stuck in Nashville for the longest time. But he'll definitely be back for the next one. So let's start there. Let's start with the Bayern game. It was such a roller coaster of emotions, right?
Yeah, it definitely was. Rodrigo, I don't know where you want to start. I think we all know from a fan perspective that it was extraordinary to
Yeah.
see the el movimiento popular más grande del mundo,
Okay.
the largest popular movement on the planet in full effect in Miami was absolutely incredible. I've talked to so many people that were foreign to the whole concept of Boca, and I really love that this Club World Cup has allowed a lot of either new football fans or maybe Eurocentric fans get a brief little window into what our crazy unexplainable world really is. And when I saw everybody, I was off to the side. I had a couple of professional duties sitting in a different area. I would have loved to have been seated with all the Boca people, but seeing it from outside, it really felt like the stadium was alive. It was the heartbeat of the game, dictating the moments, uh, influencing the game emotionally. Right? Obviously, there's one thing to play football, and there's another thing to influence the spirit of the players. And I often tell people that the difference between support in Argentina and support in other places in the world is that oftentimes in Europe, let's say, in England, in the Premier League, in a Champions League night in the Bernabeu, you need the football to come first, and then you'll get a reaction in the stands.
Yeah.
And in Argentina, you're always going to get the reaction in the stands, and a lot of the time, that influenced the spirit of what's going on the field.
Yeah, especially with a team that's kind of been, down on their luck. I feel like it was a big. I mean, Boca fans are always supportive, but this time around, I think all of us felt like the team needed a little bit of an extra push. 55,000 of us showed up onto the Benfica game, and then it was about 63,000 people total. A few more Germans or people supporting Bayern Munich for that second game, but like just after the Benfica game, the level of excitement was through the roof. Obviously, we it was a really fun game. We felt the win so close, and then the way the kind of like the results happened, we knew that if we could just manage a tie against Bayern, that would just kind of put everything just like looking like very good for Boca. So like
Yeah.
so we all showed up, and I can say we all because like Facu did, you did, and then like thousands and thousands of fans showed up, and we knew it was a tall task, right? I mean, we knew that the type of players we were playing. Manuel Neuer has been our just our our enemy forever. I was thinking, in the first half how that guy is probably one of the worst people in my life. How he's given
Yeah.
us so many heartbreaks, and here he was doing it again at like I don't know 38, 40-year old he is, and it was just it was crazy, and just the atmosphere. I don't know how you lived, just kind of like walking into the stadium, and just people like pouring in, people showing up early. It was really hot that day, but like thankfully they also like played a little later, so just that kind of helped out, and it was a crazy atmosphere.
It was awesome. Rodri, you'll tell me because I mean you've probably been to the stadium and been in close contact with many more Boca fans than I have.
Yeah,
But I felt there was harmony and belief after the Benfica
yeah,
game that there really wasn't in a really long time. Like, mind you, I walked into this tournament thinking that Boca was going to get eliminated in the group stage, as
Yeah.
they did, but
Yeah.
not in this fashion. I would have
Yeah.
never have said we're going to compete more with Bayern and Benfica than we did against Auckland City, right?
100%. Right.
After those first two games, it was almost like the representation was stored. I read a lot of people saying that they felt really identified in the way that the team played because
Yeah.
for the first two games, you went toe to toe with some of the best teams in Europe, world class talent. And although I do think in that Bayern game, Boca got ran over. Bayern was so much better, but it's not about being better. It's about who wins, right?
Of
And
course.
and
Yeah.
Boca evened the matchup a little bit with a little bit of heart and a little bit of spirit. It was an even game when Bayern really should have been winning by much more than just one goal.
Yeah.
So I walked away after the first two match days hopeful, and the fact that you end up tying Auckland City one game afterwards is Boca in a nutshell.
Yeah, yeah, no, 100%. And I want to go back a little bit to what you said about like the vibes changing because obviously the last, Boca official game was, against Independiente, just an awful elimination. The fans chanting against pretty much everyone,
Yeah.
So the fact that like with no games in between, so no chance for them to redeem themselves, we were able to just kind of turn the other cheek. Miguel Russo came, in between. Not many changes on the rosters, two new players, a couple of injuries here and there. We knew that Cavani probably was going to miss the first two games, but we turned the other cheek. We're like, no, like the team, they're down. We're not going to kick them when they're down. We're like actually going to show up and we're going to support them and we're going to. Hopefully that's gonna like just help turn things around. And for a bit, it kind of did. I mean, those I remember the feeling when we went up to 0 against Benfica, I was like, man, we're so back. That irrational, like just it doesn't even make sense, like logically. But I was like, you know, finally we snapped out
We
of it.
touched the sky against
Yeah,
with the goal by Merentiel. I touched the sky.
yeah, exactly, 100%. And you know what? I kept telling Facu, and I don't know if I said it like in the. I don't think I said it in the other podcast. Was like I remember that feeling twice. Once was in the 2018 World Cup when we played France and we went up to 1. I was in the stadium in Russia and I looked up and I'm like, God, like, thank you. This is like, and in the moment that it's temporary, it's not gonna last. But it's just such a cool thing. It's like I never thought I'd be here. And then when Advíncula, tied it in at Maracanã, another game where both of us were in. I also just kind of looked up to the sky and was like, I can't believe this is happening, but this is fucking awesome. So I'm just gonna enjoy it for as long as it lasts. And it kind of lasted for like, with the Merentiel goal, it was like, I don't know, like 18, 20 minutes, something like that. And it just kind of, and I just kept glancing at the scoreboard and the clock, and I was like, please just make it go a little faster. But yeah, obviously, like Bayern just scored again, and but even then, the feeling after the game was like, okay, we know we didn't deserve to win or anything, but like, we had a decent showing, and now we need obviously to score a bunch of goals against Auckland and a little luck, and a little just help from Bayern against Benfica. And at the very worst, we're like, okay, let's go and let's score as many goals as we can against Auckland. And whatever happens in the other game, we'll just like, ride off into the sunset on a
Yeah.
high, and none of that happens. And
No.
like you said, that's the most Boca thing of this whole story.
Looking back at it now with a little bit of my boiled blood settling down and soothing down, in reality, this is as deep as this Boca team was built for. A couple of incredible moments that were marquee moments in the group stage. The Merentiel goal against Bayern was world class because it really was. It was
It
it
was
was
awesome.
full. It was full of quality. But Boca got pummeled. I don't know if pummeled is the right word. In Spanish, you would say baile. I don't know if the result reflected a baile,
Yeah.
that they just played you off the pitch because it was closer on the results than it actually looked like on the field. But Bayern were much, much better than Boca.
Yeah.
And it's like Boca came to a screeching halt. But when you look at the way that the team has been playing, it's almost like they got brought back to reality against Auckland with the lack of leadership, with more questions than answers, and all of this doubt that we had going into the tournament, it came back in that third game. It was like hope was restored. We took 2 steps forward to take 4 steps back
Yeah.
against Auckland, and the way that the leaders, the referentes, speak after the game, it's so shameful,
It's
and
maddening.
it's almost like they don't know where their feet are planted, and I honestly feel as just a little bit disrespect that they didn't really achieve anything, and for them to kind of just brushing this off, we didn't expect Boca to qualify out of the group stage. Like, that's, if you want to base yourself in reality, fine, but at least respect the efforts of all these fans, what the badge represents. And I walk away with a bitter feeling because it's not what happened, it's the way in which it happened.
Yeah. Yeah, especially because if it would have been, if it would have been like a 2-1 victory, right? Then, they can just kind of somewhat claim that like, hey, we tried, we hit a couple of posts, and it wouldn't have mattered anyway because, the suspension, just kind of like they finished the game knowing that they were already eliminated no matter what they did. But it's one of those things where like, just the way that we expected to go out was like, okay, I was kind of doing some math. I was like, okay, Bayern scored 10 on them, and Benfica did 6. I'm like, let's score 4, right? I mean, let's do 4. Let's just like, really like put on a show, like send the fans off happy, even though, because like you said, most of us didn't really expect. The group was very tough, like probably the toughest group in the competition. I kind of hated how they divided the teams, before the draw. But that's kind of again the lack of the draw, and that
I
just
would
happened.
say out of the South Americans, Botafogo probably had the hardest group.
Yeah, and they got totally
With
screwed because they should have been like a group 1 or like
right,
thing
right.
1.
They were a champion, right? That they
Yeah.
qualified as a
Yeah, they
Copa
put River
Libertadores
in who
champion.
like didn't win, and like they screwed Botafogo. Yes, but that's too far back, whatever. But like, yeah, so just we just had this situation where like we had a chance at different points. We had it against Benfica. We felt close enough against Bayern, to just at least get that point that would have like made a world of difference, and we just weren't able to get it. So my question now is like, do we leave kind of like same situation as we were coming in, worse situation? Like, just it was obviously pretty bad coming in, right?
It was pretty bad coming in, and we didn't know what to expect from this Russo team. He did organize it a little bit, gave it a little bit more structure, but I I don't know what the starting off point is. Everything that I had for every player that I had doubts about, they just cemented themselves against Auckland
Yeah.
City. My patience, for example, with Changuito Ceballos is running out. It's
It's
been
done for
running out.
me. I'm done.
I'm
Yeah.
I'm generous that I still have hope, and that's just
No.
because I don't want to bury anybody because they're humans. But
No, of course.
the,
I mean, he's
the,
done as a Boca player. I'm not saying. I mean, just he's had over 100, games with the Boca jersey.
and
Probably closer to
I
150. So
I mean, when I watch Boca with people, I say, how many times does Changuito Ceballos beat a man, get to the byline, and the end product is terrible? Almost every single time without fail. It's unbelievable to watch. And there's several
yeah,
other players that you can point out that it's just it's poor performances, and it's just so disheartening because there is an opportunity to set a standard that is so often missed. And it's back to the drawing board. It feels like after every elimination, it's back to the drawing board for
yeah,
Boca. And those eliminations come so often. And it's like, all right, who's Boca going to go get in the transfer window? Now
yeah,
Paredes is coming, right? And hopefully that brings a new aura, a new atmosphere to the team. He should be
yeah,
Boca's captain. He's 30 years old.
yeah,
He's coming in very near his prime. There's a chance to reset. I personally, I think the team that was put together, so much so for River and Boca, by the way, it's just because you can't help but compare to the Brazilian
yeah,
teams. There are teams that aren't built to compete in these competitions for too long.
yeah.
And Boca and River crashing out of the group stage, it was razor thin, right? River could have got a goal yesterday if Colidio would have hit his header to beat the goalkeeper yesterday for Inter. We're talking about a River win. Maybe Inter ties it and they're all even on points. Boca, that Otamendi header doesn't happen. Better marking. Boca walks away with the 3 points. Regardless, they're not built to succeed for too
No,
long in this competition. The
sure.
squad's just simply not good enough.
Yeah, you watch the Brazilian teams and they belong on the pitch. They belong
Absolutely.
in the competition, and not only that. I mean, just a cursory look at their starting 11s. You're like, more than half of these guys could easily be playing in Europe, or will play in Europe eventually, or played already, and they're like just kind of like just back, because playing back home. So yeah, it's tough. I think one of the things you said is like we got a lot of confirmations in terms of like both the players that we hate and that we think that they're basically all done, and a lot of confirmation on the good side, right? I mean, Merentiel, it was one of the better ones, and he just keeps confirming that he belongs
Yeah,
and that he
total
should be a
highlight.
keeper. And then, Ayrton Costa just keeps like surpassing expectations. I thought that was really cool. He played injured against Bayern and still like, completed, the whole game. So that's a couple. I think Bataglia had like highs and lows and but like, like you
It
said,
was interesting. That was something different, right? We knew that he could play that position going
yeah,
when he was signed for Boca. He mostly played center back, but it was something interesting that Russo tried. I think he's onto something. I think that's an option because we were watching that midfield with either Delgado or Alarcón or whoever was in the middle. We had never
Belmonte.
seen
Yeah.
Belmonte as well.
Yeah.
And yeah, sure, it's different. It's another wrinkle tactically, if you will, that Boga can add if you want to find any takeaways really from the Club World Cup.
Yeah, no, absolutely. But then also like and just like I think um again, I don't want to get too negative, but I'm pretty pissed off. So I have a long list. But like there were a lot of things from Russo and the way and the players he chose and some of the positions that he played them in were suspicious, just not suspicious, like that's not the right word, but just like I have my doubts.
Questionable,
Questionable. That's the word I was looking for. Yeah. So like just deciding not to play Milton Delgado after he was like the best player of the
balling.
semester.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree.
And I don't care if he's like 4'9". You're the best player. I mean, just like it's not like like all the other players are so tall. So just that was a decision, but he decided to play Bataglia there. I thought that like just deciding to like basically just bring Figal out of just ostracism, just kind of bring him
Right.
back, and for Figal to just basically like betray him, on the very first game, doing this.
Unacceptable, by the
Yeah, I know
way.
and he's
Completely
another player.
inexcusable.
Yeah, he's had so many chances. Oh, especially with like, and this is like where like Boca players are never like quite fully like bought in. Like when you have in the rule book that like in the case of a tie, it might be determined by fair play and like cards. It's just like getting two red cards in the first game, and like one of them from Ander Herrera when he was like he wasn't even playing anymore, and then like Figala at the very end when like the game was like essentially over. It's such a Boca like boneheaded player
Yeah.
move. So we get that. We get like another chance for Ander Herrera. I understand Ander. I used to love Ander Herrera like all my life. Like just like he was awesome. He just can't do it anymore. He can't even do it physically anymore. Like forget about
No, he
like his
can't.
like
No, physical.
level on the
Well,
pitch.
I kind of knew that was the reality of Ander Herrera. I have a very good friend that's an Athletic Bilbao fan, and he had told me, "You guys are getting an ex-player, a
Yeah,
retired
it's a
player. He
yeah.
he can't play. He can't play anymore." And this was another one of those De Rossi signings, right?
Yeah.
Wants to experience the world of Boca, and I get it. But if you know that he's this fragile physically,
Yeah.
don't don't play him. And in fact, it's almost like I'm really getting this whole Boca experience for the European that
Oh,
wants to experience Boca is getting old at this point because it's seen, I think it's seen as comical from the outside
it is.
because
Yeah.
because they don't add anything. Like if you do want to experience the Boca VIP experience, you gotta come here and deliver and put your granito de arena, as you say in Spanish. give your 2 cents, put them on the table. But these players either can't or are too old to. Like I love De Rossi. I thought and Ander Herrera too. They're gentlemen. They're
They're
gentlemen.
awesome. Yeah, great people. Yeah, but like we don't need that. Or we need more. I mean, we do need. I mean, I'm sure their leadership in the locker room is great. Same thing with
Right.
Cavani. That's been my thing with Cavani pretty much since the start. That I mean, I'm sure he has great leadership. He's obviously a great, like brand ambassador. But we're paying him to like score goals, not to just represent us. We're
Right.
not paying him for like Instagram posts. And it's just maddening because when they're fit to play, they almost have to play, but they're never fit enough, and then they like miss like 2 months, and then we can't sign anyone at that level. We have to like just rely on players like like Milton Jimenez or Belmonte or Alarcón in the case of Ander Herrera,
So
and which is
it just points to a team that was assembled pretty poorly, to be
yeah,
honest.
I agree. Yeah,
I mean,
yeah, no,
Cavani. Anybody that was watching Cavani at Valencia saw that he was bad,
he
and
was almost done.
there were throughout his Boca career. I think he had a little bit of a comeback in the middle, but Book ended by pretty bad stints, pretty bad moments, right? Especially like you look back in the Copa Libertadores qualifying where he misses that sitter from so close, and it's so questionable. I go back. It's so funny because every time Cavani has a bad performance, the video of the kid outside of the stadium, the
Oh,
the
dude,
the, the chubby kid
he's
that
such
questions Cavani from the very
dude.
beginning, and
That guy
everybody's
came
like,
from
"This
the
kid
future.
is
That kid came from the
absolutely."
future. I won't be told otherwise. Yeah,
It was
it's
so
great.
spot on.
Yeah, for the people that don't know, like this kid gets interviewed like before, like I think it was before Cavani was like,
But like,
or
let's describe the kid. He
yeah,
might be at best 13 years old.
yeah,
He's short, a little bit chubby. He has a perfect fade. He's
yeah,
like in it, like you can tell that he's very into his football and
yeah.
very proud
It,
of his opinions.
and he speaks like a proper like adult, like too. So like someone like catches him at on the way out of a game, and they're like, hey, are you excited that we're gonna be signing Cavani? And he's like full on like just like blank stare, and he's like no. He sucks. He can't even like just like cut to the goal. He's like he can't move, and then he's like, no, I don't want him. And they're like the guy's like you don't want it. He's like, no, I don't want it. I want to play all the youngsters. Like play Ike Gonzalez, Ike Fernandez, play Merentiel. I don't want Romero. I don't want Fabra. He like nailed it. Every single thing he said in like 30 seconds. It's unbelievable. That guy. I love that kid. I want to meet him. Yeah.
Absolutely. It was so spot on. And I think to be frank, he was onto something. I think there are a couple of youngsters that deserve a little bit of a run. Obviously, Eggy Fernandez is not there anymore, but Delgado for me was the revelation of the semester. And like you say, it was kind of crazy that he didn't get a run in.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of soul searching to be done in this. There's not even that much time before the
No.
league picks up again.
Yeah. It's 2.5 weeks. Yeah.
So like I don't know what the quick fix is with another center back because with all of this
Oh yeah.
Rojo stuff, not that he was going to be playing anyway, but there's now beef between Rojo and the club and Miguel Angel Russo that hasn't. To be honest, neither Russo nor Rojo have spoke directly about this issue. It's been more
Yeah.
reporting around it, but it's clear that Rojo's time at Boca is coming to an end. Another pillar, another captain, and another leader within the locker room. So it's going to be. I feel like a turnover is coming, and Boca needs to improve in certain departments if they really believe that they can compete. I mean, not only in Argentina, let's not even talk about Libertadores yet.
Yeah.
Like talk about just competing in Argentina.
Just win another title ever again. Like it's worrying. I mean, obviously we saw a little bit of a change of the guard when it comes to like the team captains. It used to be like I think Cavani was a captain before and remains a captain now, but I think Romero was one of them, and obviously Marcos Rojo. And now it's Marchesin and it's Miguel Merentiel. I don't know if you guys have seen the video where he talks about it, and it's really like I've grown to like him so much because he's one of the few that actually like represent us on the pitch. But even then, just like Marchesin is like we didn't know his voice, and now he just talks after every game. They score on him after every game, and it's just he's becoming like a little toxic, and it's like, come on, man, like you haven't won anything. You didn't do anything with the national team. Yeah, you played in Europe and Brazil and you have a great career, but like just can you win something before we start like spouting off and we have a lot of that. I think we need better leadership. I'm hoping that Paredes, which we'll talk about Paredes more in next week's episode and the subsequent ones because obviously it's a huge thing. It seems like it's done. Obviously hasn't been officially announced, but it seems like a done deal. But we need a changing of the guard, and we need. I just think that we need some of these people to just be gone from the club, not just like benched, because like Fabra has been benched for like basically a year, probably a little more, but he's
Right,
still
the,
there.
the the people watching on the Chiquito Romeros, the Fabras, the Cavani's watching on from their palco, right,
Yeah,
from the box, and just cashing in a paycheck.
yeah, exactly, and that's just like it's very it's like an open wound that just won't heal until they're gone. So I'm hoping that them a lot of their contracts run out at the end of the year, like Fabra, Romero, Rojo. There's
Like
some
for
report.
example, I do think a lot of those guys also they just kind of want to run out their contracts, so
Oh yeah,
they
because they're not gonna
are
get anything else. Like they're probably
right.
gonna retire.
Right. Or Fabra, for example. Like I'm thinking if he wants to go to like Colombia or something like that, he has the authority on his own transfer because he's a free player at the end of the year.
Yeah.
So why not just cash in a check until December and then make the move on your own terms,
Yeah.
right?
No, absolutely. I think that Boca would set him free if he brought an offer, to be honest. But like, yeah, it's one of those situations where there's some reports today saying that he wants one more chance, and I just don't think he's gonna get it. Even though Marcelo Sarachi, another competitor in that position, is also like looks like on the way out.
Yeah.
Obviously, if you poll any Boca fan, everyone has their like 15-man deep like list of people that we want gone. So it's and obviously we're not gonna buy 15 new players. I do think that there's a few kids, in the academy in the reserves. I'm too much of a Boca like nerd, and I actually watch the reserves and I watch the kids on Saturdays because they actually show them on YouTube. So like there's talent in the pipeline. I don't think there's like a Mastantuono, especially not anyone kind of like close enough to like the first team. But there's definitely talent. There's a really good left back. There's like a good striker. Sampieri, Flores. There's some good players that could be and should be joining the squad because we need younger blood. We have so many players over 30. Lema, Ander Herrera, Cavani. Like there's so like even like guys like Hanson. Just like we need to make the roster younger because we need to play more intense. We need something different. We just need like a revolution, I
I
would say.
have I have the roster here with ages. I can just read you out loud
Yeah.
the names 30 and above. There's three goalkeepers that are older than there's Bray who's 22, and then the three goalkeepers are either 37 or older.
Yeah.
Marchesin 37, Javi Garcia and Romero 38. There needs to be a little bit of refreshing in the goalkeeping department
Yeah.
as well. And by the way, now that we're on Marchesin, to me Marchesin lost complete credibility in the Copa Libertadores second qualifying stage
Yeah.
when he decided, right, to me, sorry, not only did Marchesin lose credibility in that moment, Gago for me lost
Oh,
complete
yeah, it was
credibility in the
both of them.
moment.
Yeah.
That was the moment where I don't know why Riquelme took so long to fire Gago. That was such an indication of a weak manager with weak authority, with
I
him
agree.
being with his in over his head, having no clue what he was
Yeah.
doing to sub off Marchesin to put Bray, a completely novice goalkeeper,
Yeah,
in
they
such
tossed him
a
the grenade. They're like, just go
high
and save
pressure
us.
situation.
Yeah.
Ridiculous, by the way.
Yeah.
And as Marchesin since then, he's a good goalkeeper. He's actually a great goalkeeper, but still, there's so many more qualities you need in a leader and a goalkeeper other than just being great. There's a certain level of of toxicity, of yapping and then not following it up with a certain results. All right, so
Yeah.
we got Javi Garcia, Romero, Marchesin over 30. Lema's 34. Figales 31. Rojo Advíncula 35, Fabra 34, Bataglia 33. He gets a pass. Ander Herrera 35.
Yeah.
Cavani 38, Hanson 30, and Merentiel is 29, but he'll turn 30 next year. Like, what's Hanson doing still at
Yeah.
Boca? Like,
Yeah. He's just like taking up space. That's also the what happens when you just buy the wrong players, which happens to everyone. Everyone just gets it wrong. But then you don't keep him like 2, 3 years. Like in Boca, if you haven't performed like 12, maybe 18 months in, it's just never gonna happen for you, man. Sorry. Like, it's like it's probably never gonna happen anyway, because like most players like fail at Boca, because it's such a heavy jersey. It's the responsibility and the pressure are insane.
and also, how many managers has Hanson had at Boca since he arrived? 2 managers, 3 managers.
Oh, I think he came in under Almiron. So it was Almiron, Diego Martinez, Herrón, Gago, Russo. Yeah, it's like five.
So I mean, and I think this goes for a lot of the players.
Yeah,
Boca, a club right now, the turnover is so constant. You're unable to have any consistency,
yeah.
unable to really have an identity. But Boca has lacked football. It's not an expression that translates well into English,
Yeah.
but in Spanish Boca es un equipo que carece de fútbol.
Yeah.
Boca is a team that lacks this football touch, the football intelligence. It's so difficult. We love Boca, but sometimes it's very difficult to watch them play because they don't play well, and you have all of these guys that have succeeded elsewhere and are promising players like Hanson. That Copa Libertadores run that he had with
It's
Vélez,
pretty
he
awesome.
was
Yeah.
he was freaking awesome, man.
Yeah.
And then for some reason, a lot of these players are coming to Boca and they're not succeeding because it's oftentimes such an erratic management and direction that the club is on.
Yeah, no, and the worst thing is that like, Miguel Angel Russo is, almost 70. So he's you know, he's not here for the long haul. Like if he, qualifies to Copa Libertadores, he'll stay on. And if he doesn't, he's probably gone at the end of the year. And then we have a new one, and it's
Right.
just so it's like, we're not really building for the long term. We're not really promoting, like I was saying before, too many like younger kids. So we're relying on just outside signings. Obviously, they're gonna put a lot of eggs in the Paredes basket right now,
Yeah.
and like all of us, our hearts are there. Are just depositing our just faith in Paredes to be able. But it's almost a bit too much to put on his plate. I mean, he's an excellent player, a world champion. Like World Cup champion, but like he can't fix everything. He can, make, I don't know, Di Lolo be able to just pass the ball like
Right.
10 yards,
Or
like
make Cavani score, or have
yeah, or
Palacios combine, hit a wall pass. Like, that's all I ask, like combine, hit a wall pass to the other guy playing, Velasco to be more involved collectively.
yeah,
All of these things, right?
yeah.
Right. Paredes isn't the one piece of glue that's going to bring everything together.
Yeah, no, and you can honestly, I don't think you can ask that of anyone. You can bring Rodri, and he's not gonna like do that for
Right.
you. But we hope that he's just gonna be able to just kind of like revolutionize and just ignite, the locker room. Maybe just bring along some of the younger players, the Ayrton Costas, Blanco's not that young anymore, but he's young enough. The Alarcon, players like that. Zenon, he needs to really bounce back, and be able to just make them better, and then in turn, make the team better. Obviously, Boca still needs more signings. If Russo's gonna play this way, we need players on the wings, and we just don't have any right now. Hanson's not in. Ceballos is not in. Palacios is not a winger. I mean, I hope Russo, like after 3 tries, knows that he can't play on either wing. I don't think he can play anywhere right now, but especially on the wings. And Zenon, can't play on the right. So if we're gonna play him, we gotta play him on the left. And there's just so many of those little things where, like, we gotta buy players. But the thing is, like, we say this every, like you said before, we say this every semester. We're like, we need more players. We need more players. And like lately, they've been actually buying players. Like Velasco was worth $10 million. That's one of the like most expensive signings
Ridiculous, like daylight robbery. By the way, FC
from
Dallas,
FC
FC
Dallas.
Dallas, FC Dallas must have received that offer and been like, for Our Alan Velasco? Are you sure you're not confusing him for another Alan
You-
Velasco? Like you
Wait,
want the Alan Velasco from FC
wait,
Dallas?
you're not sure we have to pay you $10 million to take him away from us? Yeah.
Like, listen, he was good. He had really bright moments in Major League Soccer with FC Dallas, but he wasn't consistently good. If you told me, here's $10 million, spend it on a Major League Soccer player, on a Major League Soccer attacker, I would not have chosen Alan Velasco.
Yeah, like they were almost expecting like Thiago Almada like performance from
Right,
from a
right.
player that is certainly not Thiago Almada, So yeah, just but again, that's been kind of like one of the bright spots for Riquelme lately, of just like spending more and reacting a little more and bringing in more players. But it's just like, and some of them weren't bad. I thought Marchesín wasn't a bad idea, Bataglia wasn't a bad idea. Maybe they haven't performed yet, but like it's like at least they're kind of like aiming in the right direction sometimes. Alarcon, I thought
Yeah.
it was very promising signing. And just it just seems like nothing works in Boca right now. And the hope is that Miguel Russo can just kind of give him structure, and then Paredes can give him like, just kind of light a fire under them, and that it turns into something. Because like, we like the bar is low right now, but like, we need to at least qualify for Libertadores. Right? We haven't celebrated a title in like 2.5 years, and it's probably not going to be this year either. So it's like, we're still alive in Copa Argentina. The Clausura is starting right now. It's tougher now these days, because now we have to get through 4 rounds of playoffs. And you can be the best team in the regular season, and that'll probably get you into Libertadores, but
You,
like that doesn't guarantee a title, because then you have to get through 4 other teams.
you know what's brutal about this knockout stage is that the eliminations hurt so much more. It's so
Yeah.
much more dramatic. The narrative around the teams, like I was talking to a lot of friends that are River fans, and I think after the Super Clásico that we lost, River kind of found their team and they hit some
Oh yeah, they
stride.
did.
And momentum in a knockout stage game, especially if it's 90 minutes, goes straight to pens, can be killed very easily,
Yeah.
as opposed to a league, right? I think it's more difficult to stop a train that's picked up velocity in a league, because you stumble, you're ready to pick up again, and
Yeah.
you're not eliminated after that loss. You have
Yeah.
you have a chance to kind of redo what you've been putting together and kind of keep that momentum going. But I look at River, right? River lost that they lost that game against
Yeah.
Platense in such a dramatic fashion,
Yeah.
and it really set them back. I thought personally that they were on that. Gallardo, after struggling for 5 months, finally hit the right switch.
Yeah.
And then obviously they that kind of set this weird tone into place around River, and they entered the Club World Cup with so many questions because they lost that one
The
game,
one
and for
game.
and it
Yeah.
feels like the end of the world when it's a when and only one
Yeah.
team is going to win the league, right?
Yeah.
Everybody else is going to be eliminated, so everything is much more dramatic in this format.
Yeah, and not only that, I mean, you can like maybe like you have a great semester, and then like you finish second, like 2 points behind the leader, and it's like, okay, obviously you didn't win it, but it's very close. Here you can just like pretty much win anything in the regular season and then be eliminated in the round of 16, and like you weren't even close. You're probably the
Right.
best or second best team, like Argentinos Juniors, like that happened to them. Like they finished in first place, and they got knocked out in the, I think it was quarterfinals, and it just stops, and you're gone. And like the funny thing is that like before I used to like it, because like, Boca was like, would just kind of like coast through through the regular season, and then we were really good in penalties. We had Agustin Rossi or even Romero, and I was like, yeah, man, just like let's just like go 90 minutes, let's go to penalties, and well, let's win this. Like now, 4 rounds, it feels such a long, like it feels impossible. Like I'm almost just kind of like missing the old format of just like going 30 games. I was like, fuck it, man, let's take our chance with like 30 games. I mean, like maybe like we win enough. Like even this past semester, we are one of the better like regular season teams, and we got absolutely nothing to show for. So
So
so it's
remind me, I'm so confused with the format. For qualification to Copa Libertadores, obviously the winners of
yeah.
each knockout of each
Yeah, so it's
Apertura Clausura win, but what about the overall best performing teams?
yeah, so basically you have the two winners, the Apertura, which now is the first semester, when back in the days it used to be like the second semester. But like so you got the winner of Apertura was Platense, winner of Clausura, whoever that is. You get the winner of Copa Argentina, and then you
Right.
get The top two other teams that doesn't include any of those three, the top two teams go straight to the group stage. And then there's a third team that goes to like the basically where Boca went this last semester. And then if for some reason an Argentinian team wins either Sudamericano
Wins.
or Libertadores,
Right.
it adds another like one more spot.
Berth.
Actually,
Yeah.
that is actually what Boca ended up doing. Boca even got into like the Libertadores like qualifiers just because Racing won Sudamericana. So that's
Right.
how far we were from actually like deserving to be in. And then obviously we still got it and we still ruined it. But um, yeah, man, just feels dire. But at the same time, you look at Paredes and you look at some of the reports today of some of the players that might be leaving. You are like, and also like look at we have a couple of weeks teams returning to Argentina today, so they're like they're the team's not training again until next week. But like obviously Riquelme and the board they know they have to sign more players. So
I
I
mean,
don't
it's
know, man.
inexcusable at this point for a
Yeah,
club the size of Boca to not be in international football. Like, it's not even, we didn't even lose in the qualifying stages that at least the consolation is Copa Sudamericana.
yeah, we
We
didn't.
lost in the previous round where it's like you lose
Yeah,
and you're out of everything.
it's brutal.
Boca needs to walk away with a title, or at least like, listen, I'm a little bit more realistic. I think you and I, from a certain journalistic standard over a fan standard, I think the fan is absolutely correct in demanding that Boca win something because it's
Yeah,
Boca, full stop.
yeah.
My hunch is that Boca's still not gonna win anything. Like
No,
if I take my fan
100%.
hat off and I put my journalistic
Yeah,
hat on, my hunch is that it's not gonna win anything. But at least the bare minimum is to compete and compete with purpose. And
yeah,
Boca has lacked, like, sure, you can compete. The Argentine league is so poor quality that you're Boca, if that you're gonna compete to a certain level. But I want Boca to compete with purpose, with an idea. We've lacked that for so long.
yeah. No, absolutely. Just have an identity. It's something as simple as that, and also so hard to just kind of put into words or to like show it in action. But yeah, I think the bar should be set at definitely finishing first in our group, which is something that we kind of did. We were like tied for first, but we finished second on goals. Because that would probably get you into the Libertadores in the whole, like year-long tabla anual kind of thing. Go very far in Copa Argentina, and then and then same thing in the playoffs. And I just wanna like for once, if we're gonna get eliminated, let's just like kind of let's be eliminated on a fluke, right? Not just on just like like crawling to the finish line, and then just like losing on PKs or losing the way we lost to Independiente, which is absolutely shameful.
Yeah, go down swinging. I
Yeah,
don't want to be embarrassed anymore. Like
yeah,
put if Boca's gonna lose, go out. Like, also the thing that's I'm sick and tired of. It's either because it's Boca, right? You're representing something much bigger than yourself. You're representing a crest, and going down swinging figuratively is what I want to see, not going down swinging literally, which
like
Boca
throwing
often does.
punches, like
They get
Marcos Rojo
embarrassed,
style.
and they're sore losers, and they think they have to defend the crest because that's the culture of Boca with physical altercation. Sure, once it's fine. Esto Boca. Like,
Yeah,
if you want to
yeah,
grab a fire hydrant after
yeah,
you feel you were robbed in a Copa Libertadores, fine. But I feel like that set the tone. And now this group of guys that we're talking about that look more out than into the club,
yeah.
they've lost so many times, almost embarrassingly so. And I'm bored of them taking it to a physical level to try to represent this team
Yeah.
and what the institution stands for. If you want to represent the team and what the institution stands for, win.
Yeah, do it
Bring
on
a
the
title
pitch.
to
Yeah.
Boca.
Yeah, no, no, absolutely. Yeah, I mean that's such you unlocked such a core memory with the fire hydrants. Oh my God, man, we've been through so many heartbreaks in
So
recent
much.
years. Yeah, man, it's just like it almost feels like we're due for some happiness at some point. But yeah, I think that's a good place to end the conversation. I think I would mostly agree. I think we should like we can talk more like details into like some more things that could change at another episode and go more into Riquelme and like his leadership style and why he's just not strong enough when he at the things he should be strong enough, and that's kind of like the thing that kills me the most about him, because I expect him to just be tough on the players at least, and he never did that. He's almost the opposite. But yeah, just thank you, Nico. It was awesome seeing you in Miami. We had those 15-20 minutes after Merentiel where, like, we were just, like you said, we touched the sky, and that's gonna have to carry us, through the end of the year, and hopefully, we get Boca back to Libertadores. Hopefully, we get a trophy. Like I said, we have Copa Argentina, we have Clausura, we have things to chase. So yeah, just thank you for coming, man. Thank you for always supporting the show. That really really means a lot to us, and to obviously to Gabi and Facu, and yeah, just thanks everyone for following along, and we'll be back. Yeah, we'll be back next week with Facu. Hopefully he made it to Miami after being stuck forever in Nashville. So yeah, anything you want to say on the way out, Nico?
Yeah, I think Faco was still busy in Nashville showing all of the live musicians the Boca songs so they
Yeah,
can be singing the Boca songs in the
yeah, they
bars in
won't let them leave.
Nashville. But
Yeah,
actually, Rodrigo, thank you very much for the invitation. I know you guys work hard to do this coverage, the only people in the world that do this in a more universal language. And it's amazing to see. Hopefully, I'm part of many more. Obviously, trying to work it into my busy
I
schedule is
know,
a little bit
we
difficult,
understand.
but I follow you guys. I read you guys. I know how passionate you guys are about this team, and how well you can express yourselves much more than I can. You guys are on the beat about every single little detail. So you guys are the true experts. So it was an honor to be on here with you.
Thank you, Nico. Thank you. It really really means a lot. So yeah, just we'll see everybody next week. Okay, bye.